So I recently hopped into a queue with my bronze IRL friend. While playing, I noticed that many players in these ranks were close to being good enough for a much higher rank, but they were being held back by one or two things that were affecting them every round or even every single fight. These errors would usually be relatively easy to fix, but since they negatively affected the players so often, the mistakes would do a huge amount of damage to their skill. That's why in this video, I will be going over 12 things you can do to get out of Iron and Bronze. It's the same set of skills, but Iron players tend to do more of them incorrectly than Bronze players. I recommend you watch every skill, even the ones you already know or have heard of. It's helpful to have a refresher, and you may be doing a small thing incorrectly, which has a large detrimental effect on your game. Make sure to subscribe if you want to be the first to see more videos designed to help you rank up just like this one. Hello everyone. My name is Atchax, and this is my guide to getting out of Iron and Bronze. First order of business is crosshair placement. The secret to good aim is to do as little actual aiming as possible. Almost every player I saw in Iron and Bronze was looking at the ground while running around. You always want your crosshair to be at head level. Instead of making your shots difficult by manually aiming up every time you see an opponent, you will already be at head level. As a result, you move your mouse less and your shots are super easy to hit. Number 2, take your time in fights. Almost every player I saw in these ranks was fast, but not accurate. Sure, they would shoot first, but they would miss as many as 8 times before they actually started landing shots, and most of the time these were body shots. Slow down, aim on the head, and click. The counter I've heard to that line of reasoning is, okay, but what if they kill me before I can aim and shoot? This is a perfectly reasonable thought, but it's not what you should base your decision on. The winner of a fight is not determined by who shoots first, but by who finishes off their opponent first. You need to make sure that you are finishing the opponent off in the fastest time you can. Instead of shooting first and missing 8 shots, take the time to aim and then finish them in 1 to 3 shots. The second one is quicker, especially since you should have good crosshair placement and very little actual aiming to do compared to your counterparts. Based on what I saw in these ranks, if you think you don't have enough time to relax and aim, you may be giving your opponents way too much credit. Number 3 is stop crouching. Yes, crouching can be good. It can be a great way to duck under an opponent's shots and win a fight with the extra time. However, most players in these ranks have terrible crosshair placement, and a solid half that I saw didn't even aim for the head. As a result, you will frequently crouch into your opponent's shots instead of under them. Try to cut out crouching entirely until you reach a rank where good crosshair placement is commonplace. You can always temporarily unbind your crouch key if you are in a bad habit. On the matter of crouch peeking, you might want to stop doing that too. Crouch peeking is slower than run peeking. In addition, it widens the player model. Your opponent can see you before you see them. By crouch peeking, you are giving your opponents a huge advantage, because they can have a much slower reaction time than you, but they can still notice and shoot you before you do the same to them. Don't give them that advantage. If you don't know how to counter-strafe, learn that. This is item number 4, counter-strafing. You don't need to know how to stutter step yet, but counter-strafing is very helpful. As you probably know, when you move in Valorant, you are not accurate. Counter-strafing is a movement technique used to stop sooner than if you let go of the movement keys. In fact, as soon as you counter-strafe, you can shoot with full accuracy. I have a separate video that teaches you how to counter-strafe step by step because it's too much to go into here. I'll link it in the description. Once again, you probably don't need to know how to stutter step yet, just how to do one counter-strafe when peeking. Number 5 is use abilities. This may seem fairly obvious, of course they are in the game, but I mean use your abilities every single round, almost all of them, most of the time, especially if you have smokes, flashes, intel, or heals. I saw Cypher not set up traps, Phoenix not use any abilities, and a Sage who sounded surprised upon learning it was possible to heal other people. A lot of players have a problem where they get fragged with their abilities out. Do not use your abilities in the open. They are meant to be used before or after a fight, not during. You should almost always be using your abilities from behind cover before you peek. Number 6. Don't blame your teammates even if it was their fault. It's incredibly frustrating when teammates make errors that lose us rounds. It's easy to blame them or to yell at them when they make mistakes. Yet this is a huge error for a few reasons. 1. The players who actually listen to and care about your toxicity are the most likely to allow your words to disrupt their focus and feel more pressure, which causes them to perform much worse. You want your teammates to be doing well if you want to win. 2. The players who don't care are the most likely to block you out, mute you, stop giving callouts, or otherwise disrupt the flow of information for the team. And 3. All types of players will be more likely to be toxic once you have been toxic first, destroying team chemistry. Team chemistry is really important for a variety of reasons, most notably communication and information flow. If you have been toxic, for example blaming teammates, you are allowing more coordinated teams to beat you, even though you are the better team. I talk a lot about strengths and weaknesses, and team chemistry is one weakness I have no idea how to fix. As you climb higher up the ladder and find better and better players, you'll notice they are a lot nicer in general. Blaming teammates is a very low-level behavior. Instead, say something along the lines of, "Nice try," even if it wasn't. If you have a legitimate error you would like to correct, try to say something more general such as, "Careful team, they've been getting us when we push them, let's try playing sites," rather than aiming your comments at a specific person. Number 7. Grouping up is not the best method all the time. This is a myth that is common going way beyond Iron and Bronze. Attacking teams group literally all of their players in the same 1 or 2 spots because that's deemed a good idea. The problem is you give up too many advantages when you do this. You rob yourself of options, you give the opponents lots of map control, you limit intel, you make it very easy to be flanked, and the opponent can close the net on you so that they all know where you are, forcing you to commit to the site that they know you have to go to, or fight your way back to the other side, giving your opponents plenty of advance warning of your rotation. Yes, grouping up is very powerful and trading is an essential skill. However, get comfortable moving solo or in groups of 2 to 3. You don't want to let the opponents decide where you go or when you do so. That is something you want to be in control of. In the same vein, you need to have more variation to your game besides rushing. By no means is rushing bad. It's a very devastating and powerful attack. But when a team only rushes, it's way too predictable and it's much too easy to counter. Add splits and defaults to your game and try to hit your opponents at different timings to keep them guessing. Lastly, I want to address baiting. Some players do bait, but more frequently there is simply a difference in tempo. When the team moves at one tempo much faster than a player who is left behind moving at a slower tempo, it can give the appearance of baiting, when the left behind player has no intention of baiting at all. I often find it is easier for the team to match the player rather than the inverse, but since you will be able to recognize the problem while most people will see baiting, that is up to you. Number 8. Variation is key. You don't want to be predictable ever. Yes, you can plan in advance and set expectations, but in these ranks, most players won't pick up on your mind games enough to even play. If you hold the same position, change your position every few rounds, or every round if you want to be really on top of things, and commit at different times, hit different sites, vary your groupings, open attacking rounds in different locations, change between aggressive and passive styles, basically vary place and time as much as you can when applicable. Number 9. Unchecked aggression loses rounds. I saw a ton of players, at least 1 out of every 5, with this problem. If there wasn't an opponent directly in front of them, they would hold W no matter what. This is a terrible habit because it usually resulted in an unnecessary death, and losing a player is never an advantage. They would push on offense and defense, numbers advantage or numbers disadvantage. They would give up easy rounds and throw away any chance of winning the more difficult ones. They would try to make terrible flanks on defense long before the opponents committed either way. Don't get me wrong, aggression is absolutely necessary and it needs to be part of your game, but it can't be driven by impatience. It's laughable too because the opponents have to come to you on defense and afterplan or you win. Why would you push them for the 4th time in a row when it didn't work the other 3 times? Sure, pushing in a 4v2 afterplant might clean up the round, but you would have won the round anyways. Why risk throwing away the round just because you are impatient? A lot of players throw away easy rounds trying to finish a round early when they would have won anyways by sitting back. Number 10. Warm up. Almost all of you have probably heard this tip, but most people in these ranks don't seem to do a warm-up. A warm-up is supposed to be a quick exercise to get you back in the rhythm of playing the game. You don't want to warm up during the game because you won't be very effective until you are warmed up, and it will take longer because there will be way less fights during a competitive match. My warm-up usually consists of 100 bots in the training range, slow and relaxed, sometimes followed by a deathmatch. It doesn't take me long at all. You definitely don't want to make your warm-up too long. Warm-up and practice are separate. If you are warming up for comp by deathmatch, play deathmatch like a competitive game. Walk, check corners, pre-fire, hold angles, and all the things you normally do in competitive. Winning the deathmatch is not important. Winning the competitive is the main prize. Lastly, warming up is also a great test to see if you are having an off day. If you are having an off day, it's usually a good idea not to play comp that day. Skill number 11 is checking corners and playing corners. Players love hiding in corners, and losing a few rounds because the opponent caught a few of you with your back turned can be the difference between winning and losing a game. Make sure to check corners. And also play corners. I would give this strategy a try every game. Some teams are just weak to it, even if they have been winning normal aim duels. Not checking corners is usually habitual, so if you notice that corners are a team's weakness, as long as you play different corners, you can catch them off guard often. This is a great strategy to have in your back pocket for an off game when you are having difficulty winning aim duels, although hopefully you caught your off day during your warm-up. Number 12. Stray away from doubling back and too many fakes, at least for now. You'll notice all of the above skills are pretty straightforward. It's not because I think you can't do more advanced moves. It's because a lot of multi-depth actions don't work on irons and bronzes. The most common example of this I see is doubling back. When an attacking team makes an attack on a site, fakes a rotate, and then attacks the same site again. This would be a good idea in higher ranks, but some irons and bronzes will just wait around on the same site for no reason, and they won't react to your fake. Another example. I used to play with really low sound so I couldn't hear some of the audio cues. Many Jets tried the dash fake on me, and I would just walk around the corner and shoot them. Not because I was really smart and saw through their deception, but because I didn't see their deception at all. Iron and bronze are full of plays like this, where players win not because they see your veiled action, but because they don't even see the veil. Instead of making 400 IQ plays, take the simplest and best option and combine it with good basics. This will be enough to get you out of iron and bronze. These are the 12 essential skills you need to learn to rank out of iron and bronze. Some of them are mechanical and some of them are decision making. Both types affect every single game you play, and fixing even one of these errors can greatly improve your skill as a player. I hope you found some value in this video. Best of luck everyone, and I will see you next time.